Now that we've discussed a little bit about, essentially what digital manufacturing is and the way it is adding to how technology is sort of trying to make paradigm shift within a very traditional setup, right? The next part that we can probably touch upon is how is it that now we understand that in the domain itself, as you said, it's a very dhanda kind of concept, right? People are buying low and selling high, and that's where a lot of people make their money. But now is a tech company that's coming into playing in this place. How is it that the economics usually would work? Now, this you can explain in the context in general about if somebody wanted to build a tech company which is addressing any specific problem within the domain, and also you can probably contextualize this in terms of how you are going about it.
Okay. So I think when we talk about the economics, right, there are one or two different factors on how you want to build a business here. There are different models, business models. You could probably build as a pure SaaS play. You could build, purely as a managed marketplace, transactional model. There are different models on one can build a business. So I'll touch up briefly on how the entire industry generally works, right? So when we talk about manufacturing, it is just nothing but converting raw material into finished goods for which you're charging up some sort of a conversion price, which is your usually a value addition. If this conversion or the engineering part is more precise, or if it does not involve a lot of complication, if it involves a lot of complication, then usually you have a higher gross margin, higher conversion price, and so on. But when we talk about low conversion, or let's say we're talking about industries like fabrication, which does not involve a lot of precision manufacturing, you generally have low conversion cost, right? On top of the raw material cost that you're buying. So you have a raw material cost, then you're converting that into a finished goods, you charge up a conversion cost, and you have your margin on top of that, and that's how the pricing generally works in any manufacturing context. But when we talk about a company like ours, which is bringing in a tech-based platform where the whole business is connecting buyer side with suppliers. Here we are a managed marketplace, right? We are not a pure play marketplace where we just connect the demand and supply, and then we take a success fee or a transaction fee against them. But we own the entire transaction. So we are the first party to our customer. So in this case, the customer would be placing an order on you. You would be sourcing different supply chain partners, you would be stitching the supply chain. That may involve raw material vendors, your primary fabricators or primary manufacturers, your secondary manufacturer, like let's say post-processing vendors and so on. Then you will be supplying finished goods to your end customer. Typically, the entire economics works this way, that your paying party is your customer. Let's say they give you 100 rupees, right, for any particular product, and then you have found different manufacturers from where the steel or the raw material has to be sourced. You have found different manufacturers from where the conversion has to be done. You have sourced different manufacturers from whom the secondary manufacturing process has to be done. On top of that, you have your margin, which varies from different industries or products. The gross margins typically varies from, let's say, anywhere between 7-8% to as high as 50-60%. It all depends on what sort of a value addition that you are doing. Does your value addition involve high precision engineering, or does your value addition involve general fabrication? It depends on various factors. Your gross margin levels also vary, right? Here, as a tech company, how you can make money is that one is purely a transactional model where you get the order from the customer. Your level of gross margin depends on what sort of a system you have built. Suppose, let's say, my tech is really good in a way that I can source the best of vendors. I am able to optimize cost because I have data about different manufacturing facilities. I have data about different raw material vendors. I'm able to optimize the entire cost model. I may be able to make higher gross margin, right? Otherwise, it's just simply an aggregator model where it is, as Anirudh rightly mentioned, it's buying and selling, right? It's a dhanda model, right? So if you don't have the right sort of suppliers, if you don't have the right supply chain build, it is very difficult to make money here, especially the higher gross margin. As long as you're doing high precision engineering parts, that's one way. And in this entire business, working capital also plays a very important role. Because who are your buyers? Your buyers are large corporate houses, whose revenue anywhere as about 1,000 crore plus, right? And your suppliers are small and medium manufacturing facilities who typically don't have that much of access to timely capital in order to execute the project. So your working capital also plays a big role. So your customers will probably give you an order against which you have to source raw material, you have to convert into finished goods, and once the goods are supplied to your customer, you will be probably getting payments in 30 days, 45 days, right? Whereas your vendors would need capital support in the form of raw material procurement, early payments, right, in order to efficiently execute the project. So you also have to factor in the working capital in your entire unit economics or economics, right? Many companies, many platforms that have scaled in this space have predominantly scaled fueling the working capital, because working capital is a very important part of this entire pipeline, which is also the reason that platforms like Custiv is being entertained, because many of these small and medium manufacturing facilities sometimes don't have timely access to capital, right? Because of which they win an order, but they're unable to convert it in a timely manner, which results into liquidity damages, which result into different losses, right? And that's how the entire unit economics goes for a toss. That's where platforms like Custom is also being entertained, because we aggregate different capabilities, we solve for all of the working capital requirement and ensure timely delivery to our customers. So here, to summarize, there are 1, 2, 3 different factors come from the picture. One, what kind of a product you are manufacturing. Right. If it's a general fabricated structure, your gross margins are generally low. If it's a high precision engineered goods, your gross margins are higher. If it's a domestic part, the gross margins are lower. If it's an export order, your gross margins are higher. Different factors come into the picture, and then also your working capital, right? What is your cash conversion cycle looking like? Is it, let's say, is it a 60-day cycle? Is it 90-day cycle? How effectively you can rotate the capital? All of this eats up your margin. So your unit economics is a combination of these things. And then as a tech company, there is another way that obviously, right, how you can build this business, which is pure SaaS play, right? Of course, one is a transaction-based platform or a managed marketplace model. Another one is a pure SaaS play. Ajay, you want to?
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. I think I'll just probably expand a little bit. One remark on the managed marketplace. So, like Maqsood talked about the unit economics, right? And I think the differentiator or the moat starts to come in the form of how aggressive you are about the operational data collection. Like I talked about the multi-dimensional or higher order dimensions of understanding the problems in the space. And the second one comes in terms of abstracting the domain knowledge. Because project level unit economics, how do you translate to hundreds of projects running? Right. That is supported by knowledge extraction from the data, as well as the domain knowledge conversion, and that's how you kind of scale it, right? Because otherwise what will happen is, even for a platform like ours, the people part of the business will scale linearly or sometimes non-linearly as we start acquiring projects. So that is something that we are acutely aware about. And just to expand a little bit on the SaaS part, I think our ambition is that we can reach only a certain part of this global marketplace, which is tremendously huge marketplace. Right. Our understanding is that it's a $1 trillion plus market and growing at a 5% CAGR. That's our understanding, right? And however fast we may run, we'll be able to capture a certain part of the business. Right. And how do we bring for this knowledge-rich but digital knowledge-challenged industry and bring what we have learned in a managed marketplace, all of that, and that the answer is providing a SaaS-based service components. We ultimately want to become, if I'm not wrong, we want to become the Shopify of manufacturing business. Right. You pick and choose what utilities, what you want to do, and go ahead, use it. Use the knowledge that we acquired with our, blood, sweat, and tears, and use it to optimize your business. Right. But ultimately, that generates the net productivity for any country and society. I think that's what we are after around these two business models.
And just to add another couple of points here, that if you play rightly, right, accounting for all of these factors, this is an industry that fairly you can make money, right?
Right.
There are certain industries or certain business models that inherently you cannot make money. But manufacturing, especially when we talk about, the aggregator model that we're talking about here, right, where we bring in tech data to solve for, inefficiency in supply chain and deliver the goods to our customers. This is an industry that you can make money, right? We've seen that happen with many companies, right? Even, the platforms that have relatively scaled well in this sector, you can scale really well because there's so much opportunities in this market. And if you get your product selection, if you get your working capital cycle right, you can make money in this market.
Right.
That's a realization that we've also made.
Right. So essentially, so if I'm not getting it wrong, there's basically a massive opportunity here in terms of a need for an intervention like this.
Correct.
But the biggest challenge is with respect to the resistance that the industry itself has in adopting or embracing this,
Right.
effectively.
Right.
And money is made in when you're able to ease this transition.
Right. When you reduce the friction.
When you reduce
If you're talking about any marketplace or any platform, it is all about reducing friction. Reducing for friction for discovery, reducing friction for transaction. That's it.
Makes sense.
So I think also one of the things which is happened, I think, which is kind of applicable for digital data and AI in general. I think what we are seeing is that this we talked about in the earlier section about the massive spend which is happening in the industry, and combined with in the last 5 years or so, how data analytics and AI is becoming affordable,
Right.
commonplace and all. I think these two factors are something which is like it's a fortuitous knot in a way. These two things coming together, right? And I think per se, us and others who are kind of actively thinking of taking an algorithmic approach, an approach which focuses on assiduous data collection, data dictionary production, defining the taxonomy for the industry. There is no digital taxonomy for the industry. Let's put this way.
Okay.
So doing of all of these things is like calling it as it's like early 1900s in India. Somebody thinking that hey, we are going to be setting up a new city, and the city is called Istanbul.
Right.
So we see that ourselves, we are actually defining the taxonomy, we are collecting the data, we are forming the roads, we are forming the pavements. And then I think this ultimately the whole industry is to benefit from this productivity gain.
It's largely uncatalogued market, right? And with we're cataloging that and then providing that, bringing that service to a variety of industry verticals who constantly need these products to be manufactured, which otherwise they figure out a lot where to go, even if they figure out how to get it done, and then you're building that service layer, right? And here, what we've also often seen is that it is not just about the L1 price sometimes. We started off the conversation saying that it is just danda, right? Buying and selling, buying at a lower price and selling at a higher price. Many times we've seen, of course, that matters, right? Many companies also look at, are you able to give me a competitive price? Are you able to give me the cheapest price? But we also seen that companies are willing to pay a higher price for the kind of service that you bring in, right? For the kind of efficiency that you bring in. So, as a tech play here, solving for the manufacturing supply chain, it is not always about the L1 price. Right? It is also about what your total cost of ownership, right? How do you save total cost of ownership for your customers and for your clients? And we've seen in many cases that customers are willing to pay higher prices sometimes.
So overall, it's sort of also like a three-sided thing, right? Like you've got finance, right?
Yeah.
You've got technology, and you've also got the core industry itself of manufacturing and what happens with that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's an interplay between all of these, and so Ideally, so technically speaking, say 10 years down the line, if, some newspaper somewhere says, the godfather of digital manufacturing back then were Ajay and Maqsood, right? They wouldn't probably be too far off the mark because that's how early we are.
Yes.
Right? Fair.
That's a hard problem to solve, I must say.
It's a very
It was a hard set of problems.
Very
Not just one problem you solve.
the multiple problems in the entire, universe of problems, right? Yes.
Not leaving out much of the cake for other people to solve for, but hey, that's a good thing.